bus is slow. It's packed. Hi everyone, it's my first video like this where I'm talking on camera. So as of last August, I've reached the 1-year mark of starting my motorcycling journey, and I wanted to give a few thoughts on how my first year of riding has been. So I always wanted to learn how to ride motorcycles, but I didn't really have the time or the money to do that kind of thing. So just recently, last year, I said, screw it. Don't let your dreams be dreams, right? Especially if I have the funds to support that kind of thing. So basically how it works where I live in the lower mainland of Vancouver is you take a multiple choice test, and if you pass that, it gives you an L license, that kind of something like that. And what that lets you do is you can ride with a supervisor, which is someone with a full license who's over 25, I think. It also lets you take a motorcycle course, which is run by several private schools here. And what that essentially is the Canadian equivalent of the MST or the MSA. I don't know what you guys in the US call it, but it's basically that. And I basically passed the exam, passed the test, multiple choice test, booked the schooling the same weekend because it was a long weekend, right? So after I did 3 days, I basically got the license. Well, not the full one, there's still one after, but basically what that one lets you do is you can basically ride freely between the morning and the afternoon. You can't ride after sunset, essentially. That's the only restriction. After I passed the test, I was like, hey, I'm gonna get a bike now, because I didn't have a bike at the time. So I was thinking to myself, like, hey, I had friends in the past who rode Kawasaki Ninja, so I'm gonna buy like a shitter Ninja, learn on that, and things will be good. So I didn't know anything about bikes back then, so I just bought basically the cheapest like 250 I could find, right? But unfortunately for me, that thing was like clapped like crazy, and it needed a lot of stuff done. Like the fork seals were leaking, and the frame looked kind of bent, and the gas tank was actually a different color than the fairing. So it's all indicating that it's been crashed before, but I obviously didn't know any better at the time, right? So what ended up happening was I actually got new tires for the bike, and then I actually crashed it. So this was like a day before my scheduled road test, which unlocks like the full license or whatever. And that was very disappointing. Like the bike was pretty much gone at that point. Even if I wanted to fix it, there's no reason for me to do that, because it's a 250 from like 2009. I paid like $2,500 for it or something close to that. So afterwards I was thinking, do I want to continue or not? And I decided to continue. And I was thinking to myself, like, hey, I don't have much experience. I rode that 250 for less than like 1,000 kilometers, probably less. So I went and got myself it's a naked bike, a CB300R, the single cylinder one. And I sort of rode that around. It was a very nice bike. It was very, very light. Not a lot of power, quite underpowered compared to something like the MT-03 actually, but I kept that for a while. And I was doing more and more longer distance trips with my friend, and I figured to myself, hey, maybe I want something a little bit heavier with more fairings and better wind protection. So I came across this bike here, and when I got it, it only had like 800 kilometers on it. I went to a dealer for it, and the guy was like, yeah, the dude bought it from us brand new, serviced it, and traded it for a 650, and I got a good price on this, so I ended up trading it in, my last bike in, for this bike. And over the last 4 or 5 months, I put about 10,000 kilometers on it. I went to many different places, I rode it a whole bunch, and that's sort of like been my 1 year experience riding motorcycles. Now, as for this motorcycle, this video isn't going to be a review on this specific motorcycle. I'll probably do a video on that at some point in the future. But in regards to how this bike handles, it's a bit heavy for its class, from what I know. Oh my god, that guy. It's a bit heavy for its class, and you know, a lot of people complain about that. The Ninja 400 is like lighter and faster, but you know, I didn't know too much at the time when I got something like this. And at the end of the day, it's still good for what it is. It has very strong brakes, the suspension is nice, and I don't really have a whole lot of complaints about it overall. I don't feel like I can't keep up with traffic or anything, unlike the 300 that I used to have. So learning about riding motorcycles to me has been a pretty interesting experience, because I come from driving manual cars, sports cars. I drive a BRZ, and it's really not that similar, or it's not as similar as I expected it to be. I mean, obviously with a manual sports car, you can skip gears and stuff like that, but here you can't. It's all sequential like a rally car. But I was pleasantly surprised, like, there's a lot of good to this type of transmission. With motorcycles, you know, there's no rev hang at all, so you can really like upshift like really fast. I had a problem when I first started where I didn't know how to shift correctly. I was like letting go of the clutch too slowly. But yeah, it's actually crazy how much more fun shifting something like this versus like a manual transmission modern car. Something like a Civic Si or a BRZ that's notable for having quite a lot of rev hang. And also with a unsynchronized sequential transmission, you get to do really fun stuff like clutchless shift. Like that. Yeah, it's so much fun. The usual route. I did a video on this route already, but I'm not gonna go too crazy here. So yeah, it definitely was a benefit to me coming into motorcycling from driving manual sports cars. Just because I understood things like, you know, how to like control your RPMs, you know, rev matching, things like that. But it is a very new experience. It's not anything like riding a bicycle. And I'm having a lot of fun with it. I think I'll continue doing this for quite some time. The things I did not expect, you know, the thing that surprised me the most about riding motorcycles is how many insects hit your visor. You know, that's not something I ever like thought about. Like, you know, because you drive a car, you drive fast, you don't really see like insects hit your you know, windscreen. But you know, for whatever reason, you know, every time I go for like a ride that's longer than 2-3 hours in a more like rural area, my windscreen just gets all like messed up. And, you know, it's pretty gross, but you know, I got used to that. Another thing I didn't really expect is how fatiguing it could be. Like, even on a sport bike like this with fairings designed to mitigate wind or whatever, you know, it can get pretty tiring, even with such an upright position like this. Like, it feels fine for like 1 hour, 2 hours, something like that. But, you know, after that, it's like, man, like, you know, it's not great. It can be very tiring, and yeah. But you know, I take that experience into account. It's what makes motorcycling such a raw, unfiltered experience. Like those clutchless shifts. You can even downshift without the clutch. Pretty fun. As for upgrades, I don't think I'll upgrade anytime soon in the coming months, but if I were to do some kind of upgrade, I do want something with a little bit more power at this point, since I've been riding for quite a lot over the last few months, as you can tell. After learning about motorcycles, of course, I always wanted something like a 600cc Super Sport, just because I just think it'd be like super cool to own something like that with like a screaming 4-cylinder. But they're quite hard to find used. They're quite beat up with like multiple owners. If I don't go that route, there's a couple bikes that I have in mind. R7, GSX-8R, you can get those for reasonable on the used market. And of course, CBR 650, that's also another one, but I feel like I want something a bit more light. The CBR 650 is a bit heavy. Oh, look at that. Amazing. Well, I hope you guys enjoy this video. It's a bit of a different one. I don't usually talk in any of my videos because they're like raw POVs or whatever. But yeah, hope you guys tune in to see more, and I'll catch you in the next one.